Welcome back to the Virtual Cafe podcast, where we tell stories that slap straight from people who have been through the mud but never collapsed. Today, I'm talking to one of my absolute dream guests. For the longest time, I was using LinkedIn just like everyone else as a prospecting tool, so cold outreach, trying to close deals. But when I started following Elvi Caparonis, something just shifted for me. She showed me the real power of LinkedIn as a place to build authentic personal brands, to tell your story, to connect with people on a human level. And as an Afro Latino myself, seeing her journey as a first generation immigrant who faced over hundreds of rejections, who got fired from a toxic workplace, and then went to land a dream job at Harvard and Amazon, and now runs a thriving coaching business helping hundreds of people transform their careers. Man, there's honestly a high probability that if it wasn't for Elvi, there would be no Virtual Cafe podcast. Her story showed me that our struggles do not disqualify us, they're actually our superpower. So today I am beyond honored to sit down with Elvi Caparonis, AI leadership career coach, LinkedIn top voice with over 250,000 followers, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and someone who's literally helping people reinvent their entire lives. So without further ado, let's jump in. God woke me up. Fear don't live here. Anxiety don't live here. Young entrepreneur, and I'm going on my fifth year. What's up, Elvi? How you doing?
Hi, Jose. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so humble and honored for that introduction.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that are on LinkedIn that have big personal brands, and you've developed this personal brand, right? And I think the thing that is very interesting about your personal brand specifically is that you're so humble. You have so much humility. And that was one of the things that drew me to you instantly. So I want to thank you for your humility and everything I've learned from you so far, just following your journey.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that you say that because this is what I want to transmit. And this comes from my beliefs. I believe in Jesus Christ, and there is not a better example of humility than Jesus. So that comes from my faith and my belief. What you see on LinkedIn is me.
I love that you say that. Okay. See, I love that because I'm also a believer, and I have a very strong relationship with Yahweh, the God of the Bible, and that's one of those things that is like on LinkedIn, it gets kind of tricky. People
I
are afraid.
This is
Huh?
who I am. I don't want to build a following that will be surprised to find out that I believe in Jesus. Of course, no, this is not who I am. I want people to
Exactly.
know that I do believe in Jesus. If they don't want to follow me, I respect that, but I want to be transparent and honest who I am. If I hide that, I wouldn't be myself. I want to be myself and show who I am.
Absolutely, and it appears as if you genuinely have a very strong connection with Jesus. And considering everything you've been through, like people don't understand having how important it is having the armor of God on, and
Amen.
and really learning and developing yourself, and how much further you get with God than by yourself. Because especially when it comes to money, right? The biggest problem is people think that money's a physical thing, but it's really a spiritual thing. So there's only really two ways to become wealthy. Everyone wants to become wealthy. Most people who are on LinkedIn, most people will be watching this, they want to become wealthy, but there's only really two ways. And this is demonstrated, when Jesus gets taken to the highest mountain, and the devil tempts him after the 40-day fast, and he tells him, if you're the son of God, turn this stone into bread. And he says, man cannot live off of bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of God. And like, what this is showing you is that from the very beginning of the Bible, and prosperity has always been God's design. You
Amen.
know,
God is the owner of the gold, the plate, the diamonds, everything.
exactly,
So
exactly.
he's the
And
one who
so,
provides for us.
I mean, you think about it. He put gold in the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve were the only two human beings. And you want to know something that's so crazy about that? He called it good, and
Amen.
that's the biggest issue I think I found as a man and as a believer, and following other people, is God's standard for perfection is good. but everyone wants to be great. But good is
And the
better
only
than
one who is great is him.
exactly. You know, and so and we've all met plenty of men who are great men, but they're not good men.
I
It's
understand.
much harder to be a good man, you know. But we can keep on going, keep on. We can speak for hours. I want to really know more about you, right, and your journey. So let's start from the very beginning, right? Let's go back to 2011. You moved to the United States from Spain without speaking English. Take us back to that moment. What was going through your mind, and what were your first few months like?
Very good question. I was very established in Madrid, Spain. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic.
Ah, I could tell. Que tú eres dominicana. I could tell.
Yo
I
soy
knew it.
dominicana hasta la tambora.
Okay. Yo soy los
Ciertamente.
dos. Yo soy boricua y dominicano. So,
Ok, 100% dominicana. Ah,
okay.
yo soy dominicana, yo estudié en la
Uh-huh.
República Dominicana. I studied in the Dominican Republic, my bachelor's degree, coming from a very, very humble beginning. My family, my mom didn't have means to send me to university. So I had to find a job and work really hard to go to college. It was challenging because I didn't even know how I was going to fund my college. I just found a job and I kept going. It was hard, but I was able to manage going to work and then going to university in the morning and going to work in the afternoon. I graduated one of the top of my classes, and that helped me to get scholarship to go to Madrid, Spain, to do a master's degree in software engineering. My background is in computer science. So in Madrid, I was able to build a career, 5 years in consulting, working in tech, and I was very well established. But then I met my husband now, but my boyfriend at that time. So he was living in here in the United States. He went to Madrid and we stayed there for a year. But then we decided to come to the United States because he had his family here. We didn't have a lot of family in Madrid. My family is in the Dominican Republic. His family is in the US. So because tech has more doors for us here in the United States than in the Dominican Republic. So we decided to come here to the United States. So it was challenging. To answer back your question, it was very challenging. I saw myself restarting my career. I needed to reinvent myself. I have had many times in my life that I have had the challenge and the opportunity to reinvent myself. That's why I launched my Reinvent Yourself Academy, because this is something that I have done in my life since I was at a very young age. So seeing myself here in the United States with a career of 5 years in consulting from Spain, from Madrid, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, but seeing myself here, not speaking a word of English, in the process of waiting for my documentation, was really shocking because I'm a very independent person. I'm somebody who wants to do things on their own, depending only on God. you know,
Yeah.
I know I depend on God, but I believe God has given me wisdom. God has given me resources for me to actually build and create. And
Uh-huh.
that was a moment of my life where I felt a little bit stuck. It was very
Uh-huh.
challenging. I thought I was going to be able to have a conversation in English with people, Jose.
Uh-huh.
I tried, but everybody was speaking so fast. I couldn't understand anything. And I studied English in college. I studied English in high school. It is not the same when it comes to America with the Americans' accent of speaking English. It was a
Uh-huh.
huge, huge transition and huge challenge for me to be able to speak in English.
I can imagine how challenging that is, especially when Dominicana. You went to Spain. The way they speak, they look at they hear us and they're like, oh, you guys are ghetto. You know, like we speak a more, Dominicans, we make up words. It's like que vaina, you know what I mean? Like we just make up things. So it's crazy that you that had levels in which you've had to prove yourself linguistically.
It's a major challenge, Jose. And for those who haven't seen themselves in that moment, it's like you come to a new country, you have no job, you don't know the language, you need to start all over. It's like not many people have the resilience to go through that. Some people give up too soon. Like, I remember myself thinking, what I'm doing here, should I go back to my country? It crossed to my mind because seeing yourself with no job, not speaking the language was a little bit shocking. But, I said, I always wanted to come to America. America is an amazing place. I am here. I need to make this happen. And I always have that power that I truly believe comes from God, that I can see the rainbow at the end of the storm. I can see the
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel. I was able to see myself, even though I was stuck at that moment, that was terrifying and really challenging. I said to myself, I can see myself speaking English. I can do this. All I need to do is to keep learning, and I can do it
Yeah.
because we are not born knowing things, so we all learn things and go through process. But when you are an adult, sometimes the learning curve is more challenging than when you are a child, right?
Yeah.
But I know that I can learn things because I have that positive attitude that hard work and dedication are gonna take me farther in life. So I started to read. I started to read, to listen to podcasts, to listen to videos. I started to try to have a conversation little by little. It started to come out, but by 3 months mark, I was able to have a short conversation with my husband's family, which was a huge win because most of them don't speak Spanish. They don't. So by
Uh-huh.
3 months, I was able to have a conversation. I started to
Uh-huh.
see myself, a little bit more independent at that time when I started to talk to people. But I would say the first thing we should do when we come to a challenge is to focus. And how do I recommend people to focus? Focus on the solution. Don't focus
Uh-huh.
on the problem because we tend to focus too much on the problem that we don't take the time to think about the solution. So I thought I saw the problem. I don't know how to speak in English. I don't have a job. I don't have documentation. But I also saw the solution in my mind. I can do this. The documentation is gonna come, and I am going to learn English. I'm going to do this. That was my attitude at that moment to answer your question.
It's so crazy that you say that in terms of, focusing on the end goal. And I really want the audience to understand the the light that you see in Elvi, like that light, that is the light of God. The ability to see the end result, that genuinely comes from when you have a real relationship with God and you understand. There's people in the Bible that had it way worse than me, had situations way worse than me. If he could do that for them, he could do this for me,
Amen.
and having that understanding. Because listen, I've done it before. It's very difficult to rely on yourself to make things happen in the world when you're going through these challenges. So I just absolutely love that you talk about branding, like rebranding yourself. I actually had a newsletter where I said like the daily rebrand, and that concept of rebranding yourself daily, because it's really a biblical concept, the renewing of your mind. You have to constantly renew your mind. Um, and you know how it is as you grow closer to God.
I didn't know
We
that.
especially in the Latino community, there's Santeria, there's a lot of stuff that like you have to separate yourself from family members that you love, that you've known your whole life, because there's that, and then there's the mindset thing that you want more, and then you might tell a family member about something that you're working on, and they say, "Oh, you can't do that. Oh, why you don't just try to be normal? Why you don't?" I've had family members tell me that, so I understand that. I
Me too.
understand how you know.
This, you are wasting your time.
Let's talk about that. All these moves that you've made, right? Like even going from the Dominican Republic to Spain. What did your family feel about that? And
I
when
was very
those
courageous. Some of my family relatives have told me, "Are you applying for a scholarship? Are you kidding me? You're wasting your time. You're not gonna get this." So
Mm.
I couldn't believe when I was hearing my sister saying that. But I can always see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like I said, I am very positive. And
Uh-huh.
because I was rejected for the original scholarship that I applied to come to the United States, I was rejected for that program. And I waited 1 year. I met all the requirements and I waited all 1 year for that scholarship. And that scholarship was denied. So when I came to Santo Domingo to do my master's degree to work all that hard, I was already heartbroken because that scholarship didn't go through. And I worked so hard for it for many, many years that getting that first exposure to rejection at the early age of my life was really a little bit disappointed. But I can always think that things are gonna get better, and that was just a lesson that I needed to learn. The second time I applied for another scholarship, I was much more prepared. I always tell people, use the rejection as an opportunity to improve myself. What I did after that rejection, right after high school, I went to college. I get my master's degree. I got even very good grades in college. And then my other scholarship that I applied for a master's degree in Madrid, that one got approved. So this means that probably God didn't have in store for me to come to the United States when I was just graduated from high school. God
Uh-huh.
wanted to send me to Madrid first, and then I was able to come to the United States. But these are God's plans in my life, and if we hear the negativity and all the people telling us, no, you're not going to get it, and we don't hear the voice of God in our hearts, we are disconnected from our source. So
Uh-huh.
we are going to believe probably that we're not good enough, Jose.
Uh-huh.
Because I believe my sister didn't want to mean that, but my sister, because she doesn't have the strong faith that I have, she saw that
Uh-huh.
I was going to get rejected a second time. But because I believe in God, I knew that God had an opportunity for me. And that was all I saw. I didn't focus on that rejection that I had 4 years before. I focused on getting that scholarship this time. To me, it's like I took the opportunity to improve myself, and I saw that it could happen. But when your family tells you you're wasting your time, is a little bit discouraging. But sometimes it's because they don't have that wisdom that only comes from God. And if you are the
Uh-huh.
one who is the most connected from God, from your family, because in every family there is one that is the one that I believe God has chosen to spread
Uh-huh.
the word across the family. And sometimes the ones that don't have that gift discourage us a little bit, but we shouldn't let that to be the reason for us to stop trying. Because what are we gonna give up on, Jose? We're gonna give up on ourselves, on our dreams? No. The only thing we'll regret once we are not here in this world is not trying. You won't regret the things that you tried because you either learn or win. I don't think we lose. And that's a mind that I applied in everything. I don't think I ever lose. I either earn experience and knowledge, or I win something that I was pursuing. And that experience and knowledge helps me to make it happen the next time I try.
I absolutely love that, Elvi. Every single thing you said, I think that's the hardest part, right? When people are experiencing challenges and they do feel like they're the chosen one in their family. Because I tell you right now, I know for a fact I'm the chosen one in my family. Like I know it, and I know you
You
know
can
it. Like
feel
that's
it.
what
You can feel it.
that's yeah, you could just feel it, right? And a lot of the times I think it's the biggest challenge is when God puts that thing inside of you that we get so excited and we want to tell people and we want the approval from our loved ones. We want that energy. And then when they don't give us what we want, it kind of hurts our dream a bit. It's devastating to our dream. And but that's why it's important to understand the way a seed grows. Like the
Love it.
roots grow before the fruits. If you focused on the fruits and not the roots, the seed has to grow in darkness before it can grow in the light.
Yes.
And having that understanding, and that's why sometimes you guys gotta keep it to yourself. I personally have that problem. I love sharing what I'm doing with my family. And aside from that, you know, when you do have that anointing and God gives you a direct message, it
Amen.
feels you kind of feel selfish by not helping people with that message that you love. But the truth of the matter is, your grandmother, your grandfather, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your mom, your dad, they're not all gonna make it to heaven. They're just not. No matter you
It's
could.
sad to feel that we want them to do so, but
Mhm.
sometimes it is hard. Probably it's a responsibility to try for them to meet Jesus, but sometimes it's harder than what we think, because I believe, when Jesus wants to touch someone's life, he finds a way to do it.
Mhm. And
It
and
may
you want
be
to know something?
it may be through
I've
us.
I've preached on the train before. Like, that's something I do. I don't put it out there on LinkedIn, but maybe I might one day. But I'll preach on the train. I've recorded it, and that's one of the things that I tell people
I
is
love
like,
that.
listen, everybody, and I'm talking about packed trains full of people, and like the 5 train in New York City, you know, and that's one thing that I'll tell people is like, listen, everybody gets the opportunity to have a relationship with Jesus. Every single person in your life, every single person. And I was, un bandelero. I used to be in Washington Heights, drinking, driving, lo mujeres. I was a not a good person. Like, I was not a good person. I promise you. I was in the streets. I was doing all these different things, and God really came into my life and transformed me, and
Amen.
and blessed me beyond my imagination. Like, whatever your thoughts are, His thoughts are much higher. And going back to what you said, you had limitations on yourself when you were in high school. Like, you just wanted to go to school, but you didn't see the vision that he had for you, you know? And so that is so important, having that understanding. What I want to know is, you get to the United States, you're learning English, you're applying for these jobs. What was that like? Like, once you finally had the degrees, you went to Spain, you had the degrees, and DR, you had the degrees, you came to the United States, you're applying for jobs, and you're like, why am I not getting hired?
At the beginning, it was thinking probably my English is not good enough.
Mm.
So that was the first thing that I thought. Probably I'm not communicating myself well. That could have been the problem right now. Right now, I can see it, because I don't have the level of English that I had right now. Right, it was a journey for me to get to that level, and I wasn't able to express myself like I do now. So now I understand that was my major blocker, because I couldn't even explain the concepts of my career in English. I was stuck when they asked me a question about a tool that I knew how to say it in Spanish, but I didn't know how to do it in English. Thank God I had the opportunity to find a job in a company where I was able to speak Spanish while I was working on my English. But I never stopped working on my English because I wanted to work in an American company. So that company was from Madrid, Spain. They saw that I have 5 years of experience from Madrid, so that actually allowed me to work in Santander Bank in Boston, Massachusetts. So they hired me, and I was able to be there for almost 2 years while I was working on my English. Then, I decided to just go for it, and I applied for a consulting company. They actually contacted me through, I
Mhm.
believe they found me on LinkedIn. All started from my LinkedIn. They found me on LinkedIn, they contacted me, and I went to the interview. I prepared myself like, I mean, my life depended on that interview, right?
Mhm.
I mastered the concepts of my career in English. I mastered how to present myself in a professional way, and I nailed that job interview. So I like landed that opportunity. After working in Santander Bank for almost 2 years, I took that opportunity to go in consulting, traveling all over the United States. Because that consulting, no, you had to go to different companies. And after a few months working in that consulting company, recruiter from Harvard University approached me from LinkedIn. She found me on LinkedIn. And that was the beginning of my conversation to land a job offer at Harvard University. So LinkedIn has been an amazing platform in my career. across all the major job offers that I have here in the United States, I have found them on LinkedIn. I cannot stress enough the value that LinkedIn has delivered to me and to other people who actually have found a place to share their values, their voice, sharing content authentically. I know not everybody's doing that, but this is what I admire. I admire people putting themselves out there, sharing their rejection journey, sharing who they are, sharing that life is not a linear path from any point to success. No, there are many failures, rejections, error, mistakes. Who doesn't have them, right? So sharing that on LinkedIn has enabled me to build my voice.
I love that you said that because, and maybe you could speak to this because I just started consistently, posting on LinkedIn and building my own personal brand, but I wish I would have done it sooner. I genuinely wish I would have done it sooner. And I think that a lot of people, their hesitancy with LinkedIn, like they're so hesitant to post and things of that nature because they think that if they post something that, if they post themselves, that it will detract them from getting job opportunities. But what they're not understanding is the job market is so hard right now that your LinkedIn presence can be the very thing that gets you a job opportunity. Your personality, how you come across, and the level of bravery that it takes to turn on the camera, like we're on camera right now, to turn on the camera, just speak into it and go. And, because everybody has their own God-given ability. Everyone has their own God-given ability. So Elvi's different from Jose. Jose's different from Bob. Bob's different from Jen. Like that's the beauty of what we are as humans. We need each other. So by not putting yourself out there, you're you're doing a discredit to society, to the world that God
You are not
created.
delivering the highest value that you could deliver to others. Right now, it's like social media is giving us the opportunity to share who we are and support others at the same time. Because just by sharing my rejection journey with people, millions of people connected with that story. Millions of people also wrote to me, I was rejected too. I felt this. I'm going through this. I started seeing more and more people sharing their journey and getting inspired by that message that rejection is not the end. And I believe by sharing content authentically, we can inspire people and help people to become their best version. I believe, I will say, one of my goals is to help people to reinvent themselves. No matter how hard circumstances are, there is always people who have it harder than you, and they reach to the stars. So you can take them as reference. If they did it, you can do it too.
Yeah, yeah. How challenging have you found it? Because that's one of the things that I could tell you have it and I have it as well. And being those change makers for our family, like the audacity. Like you got so much audacity. Like why you think you could do this? How hard is it to coach someone who might not have tapped into that yet?
I will say yes, it takes a little bit of courage at the beginning. You're not going to get it perfect, but as long as you are somebody who is willing to learn in the process and enjoy the process, you can do it. Somebody's listening to this and they don't know how to get started. My main recommendation is just start by sharing something about you that you believe that others will benefit from. And
Mm,
you need to deliver value to others. Don't make it about you. If you make it about you, you'll never take the first step. My goal when I joined LinkedIn as a content creator was delivering value to the community of job seekers who were losing their jobs due to the pandemic. I said, I have so many positivity inside me that I can share a little bit with them. Maybe I can brighten
yeah.
their day. And I started just sharing my thoughts about how they can actually be more positive. To my surprise, nobody engaged with my content. At the beginning, I got zero likes, zero interactions, zero comments, but I kept doing it. I kept doing it every single day consistently. And people sooner than later started engaging with my content little by little, right? And I started to learn how to engage with people, how to make that happen. And it is a process and it is a journey. My biggest piece of advice is share something that others can benefit from. Don't make it about you, make it about them. The reason I'm a content creator is because I want to deliver value to my community. It's not about me, it's about others. It's about what is the message that I can put out there that can actually help others to have a better day. What is the message that I can put out there that can inspire somebody to be a better leader? I love sharing content on leadership, motivation. When I share my rejection journey to help a job seeker who is looking for a job and facing rejection, I love sharing content about my journey, how I got from point A to point B, to inspire others and tell them that they can do the same. You know, every single piece of content that I put out there is with the aim to deliver value to others, that others can benefit from that content and take an action and either get inspired and how they can actually move forward with their lives, or take an advice that could help them to maybe also take that advice and advise others who can actually benefit from that. You know, my goal is to help people. If you have the goal to help people and you deliver something that you probably don't know the impact, you don't know who needs that message today, and you may have so much value inside you, like you said, if you don't share that, you are not making the impact that God sent you to this world to make, right? Because we all have different gifts, and when you share those gifts get multiplied exponentially because others benefit from, and it has a ripple, triple effect, right? So my biggest piece of advice for anyone who wants to start putting content out there, I've been doing that for 5 years, is deliver value. Create a piece of content that teaches someone how to do something that didn't know what to do. Share your story that could inspire others to do the same, or who are facing similar circumstances. If your goal is to deliver value, you have more chances of being successful and also more opportunities to not be afraid of doing. So when it is not selfish, when you are not just thinking about you, there is happiness into that mindset, right? Happiness happens when you share with others, right? When you help others. Some people don't understand that, but to me, helping others is the beginning of happiness. Because when I see that somebody is smiling or happy for something that I did, I feel like I accomplished my goal of that day.
And the thing becomes like, who wants to be rich and unfulfilled? The only way you truly are fulfilled is through serving other people. And it's almost like there's a common thread that I'm hearing when listening to you in terms of your success. And I think it may be a golden nugget and maybe the secret that can really help anyone become successful. You've mastered communication. You've shared the importance of leadership, and you've spoken about collaboration and working in unison. That might be the golden formula. Get better at communication, get better with focus on leadership, which great leadership comes from serving people, and be really good at collaborating with people and partnering with people.
I love that you summarize it that way because this is basically what it is. Deliver value to others. Share who you are and do it in a way that can help others. Just by doing that, you don't feel afraid of doing it because if your intention is to help, every single piece of content will help at least one person. Even if nobody hits like or comment, if that person needed to hear that day, you accomplished something beautiful and amazing. And you may not know the impact of that. And I love that. I love that my impact is higher than what I can see.
Yeah. It's so crazy that you say that, specifically because it makes me reflect back on when I started posting consistently like 2, 3 months ago. And I would post things, and it was very like my older posts, it was very apparent that I was trying to appear as an expert that knew it all and but not really serving people. and no one liked my content. I was literally getting one like maybe. But even that one like is very important. But I realized when I shifted and I really started focusing on how does this help the person? If I'm called to serve and called to help people, how is this piece of content helping the
I
person?
love that.
That's when I started. Now I'm getting 12 likes a post. Now I'm getting 20 likes a post. Now I'm getting 40. Now I'm getting 50. And like you
Because
start to
people
see,
connect. People
yes.
connect when something is for them, they connect to that story, you know? If it is
Uh-huh.
aimed for them, you need to know who you are speaking to, who is that message for. The people that receive that message, who needed that message, they will engage.
Yeah, absolutely. Your story is amazing. And I don't want to miss that part in which you get hired at Harvard. What did that feel like?
That felt like I accomplished something, you know. I believe I didn't do by myself. I honestly go back, like I believe that God had that opportunity for me because Harvard University was a dream coming true for me. I wanted to be in Harvard University, and just being able to work there and walk through the campus was like a dream for me. Getting that job offer was feeling like God had that blessing for me. Like it was feeling like, oh my goodness, I could not have done this by myself. It's the
Uh-huh.
reassurance that God had that for me because I know I could not have gotten that job offer by myself. But I
Uh,
believed God had it for me and He wanted to give it to me at the right moment, right? I believe I cried. I had a lot of emotions. I just couldn't believe it at the beginning. I just couldn't believe it that I had that job offer. But it was a moment like I felt like God had that for me. Like, wow, all my sacrifices, all hard my work, and then getting that job offer was like a dream coming true for me.
I am curious because, I'm about to get married and I've heard from other
Congratulations.
believers. I'm sorry, what was that?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I've heard from other believers that after marriage, that's when things really accelerated in their life. Like like they were flooded with God's blessings. Did you have that same experience?
Yes, of course. I believe God started blessing me more and more. I have that offer later after. Yes, I was married. I didn't have any kids at that moment, but we are married since 2011. It's going to be 14 years now in October. Our anniversary is coming up. 14 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, one blessing after another after I married. That is true. And my three kids were the best blessing I ever received from God. My three kids, like when I see their faces, I see God's
Uh-huh.
favor in my life, and I cannot express that into words in a way that actually gives honor to God because I
Uh,
believe my words are short to describe what God has done in my life.
yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting because I think from a superficial standpoint, people always look for a partner and they look for the best looking person. They look for the best this and that. But then when you connect with someone who's also a believer and you guys are on the path together, like it's so important to have Christ in the foundation of your marriage and your journey because you have someone that person that you're with is patient and understanding. And I know it wasn't easy for, your husband throughout the time either. Like it couldn't have been easy, right? And so yeah,
Very
so I'm sorry, was that?
very challenging. It is not easy. It is challenging, but when you believe, you make it happen because God is
Yeah.
with you.
You mentioned being fired, right? So I want to talk about that because there's a lot of people who are being laid off right now.
That was a tough one. I will say in two occasions I've been experiencing layoffs. It is challenging, but every single one of them I have taken as an opportunity to improve myself. Yes, it is at the beginning you don't know what to do. But let me tell you something. I want to tell everybody who's getting laid off. Your job is gone. Your power is not. Your power that you have inside you is there. And it's probably telling you that your skills, your ability, and everything that is within you that you take away with you from that job is something that you can level up. You can reinvent that. You can recreate now. And probably it's the beginning of something better for you. I pray for all of you for that to happen because that's exactly what has happened to me. And this is part of my book that I'm writing. I'm writing a book. It's gonna be about how you can reinvent yourself from being laid off or from being fired. It's something that most of us face, but I don't see a lot of books about that. But we all go through that period where we don't know what to do. We believe this is the worst thing that ever has happened in our lives when we get laid off. But then we discovered that that was an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves and create even better things. Yesterday, I was reading a post about Gary Vee. Gary Vee, that guy is one of the entrepreneurs that I admire the most because he came from nothing and he has built a $1 million company. Gary Vee is telling people getting fired is not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You may see that now, but if you use that opportunity to reinvent yourself, to create something, it's probably the beginning of something better for you. Every time I
Uh-huh.
has had gotten either fired or laid off, I have come up with better ideas, better ways, better things, and I have gotten even better opportunities than the one that was left behind. I recommend people to take this opportunity to improve themselves, to boost their self-confidence. The job may have been gone, but your power is not gone. Your power is within you. Take that power, double down, and reinvent yourself. So, and officially announcing here, I'm writing a book, and my book is gonna be about that.
If you made it this far, you just heard a masterclass in resilience, reinvention, and refusing to let rejection define you. Elvi's story isn't just inspiring, it's a blueprint. From not speaking English to landing a job at Harvard to building a business that's transforming hundreds of lives, from toxic work environments to becoming LinkedIn's top voice with 250,000 people listening to her message. That's what happens when you bet on yourself, even when nobody else will. If you're out there right now feeling stuck, facing rejection, doubting whether your dreams are even possible, this episode is your sign. Your breakthrough is closer than you think, so keep on going. Elvi, thank you so much for sharing your story for us. Thank you for being vulnerable, for being authentic, and for showing us what's possible when we refuse to give up. If you resonated with this story, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who can also benefit from Elvi's wisdom. And remember, your story isn't over, it's just getting started. Until next time, stay blessed and highly caffeinated.